You say you want peace and quiet, but the moment things actually go quiet, you reach for your phone. No music, no YouTube, no podcast, no scrolling, no conversation in the background, just you. And suddenly, that does not feel peaceful. It feels wrong, like something is missing. Or worse, like something is about to appear. Uncomfortable, right? That tiny silence already made your brain do something. Maybe you waited for the next sentence. Maybe you wondered if the audio stopped. Maybe your hand almost moved towards your phone. That is the strange thing. Silence sounds empty, but to your brain, silence is never empty. Silence is where all the things you have been avoiding finally find you. During the day, your mind has somewhere to hide. Messages, work, people, noise, food, videos, music, tasks, tiny emergencies dressed up as normal life. You are not really alone with your thoughts. You are surrounded by distractions pretending to be choices. Then everything stops. The room gets quiet, and your brain says, finally. Now we can open the files. The thing you forgot. The message you did not reply to. The money problem. The weird conversation. The future you keep trying not to look at. And because there is no noise covering it anymore, one small thought can sound enormous. Not because it is enormous, because it is the only thing in the room. That is why silence can feel louder than sound. But this goes deeper than modern stress. Your brain did not evolve in bedrooms, buses, offices, and coffee shops. It evolved in a world where silence could mean information. A forest going quiet was not relaxing. It could mean something had changed. Birds stopped calling, leaves stopped moving, the group stopped speaking. And when the world suddenly went still, the safest brain was not the calmest brain. It was the brain that noticed. The brain that said, wait, why is it quiet? That brain survived. So even now, thousands of years later, your nervous system still treats certain kinds of silence like a question. Not, isn't this peaceful? But, what am I missing? That is why silence can make your mind scan. It scans your body. It scans your memory. It scans your social life. It scans tomorrow. It scans for danger, mistakes, rejection, unfinished business. And if it cannot find a real threat, sometimes it builds one. A normal message becomes, they hate me. A small deadline becomes, I'm falling behind. A quiet room becomes, something feels off. A random memory becomes a full courtroom drama where you are somehow always guilty. And here is where it gets weird. You do not only avoid silence because silence is boring. You avoid silence because silence removes your escape routes. When you are scrolling, your brain gets tiny rewards. A new clip, a new face, a new joke, a new outrage, a new reason not to feel what is underneath. Every swipe is a little door, but silence closes the doors. And when the doors close, you meet the part of yourself that has been waiting outside. That is why people say, I just need something on in the background. Not because they are listening. Because the noise is doing a job. It is keeping the room from becoming too honest. A podcast while cooking, music in the shower, TikTok before bed, a video while eating, television while doing nothing. Modern life has turned background noise into emotional wallpaper. It covers the cracks. And the strange part is, most of us do not even notice we are doing it. We call it entertainment. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it is avoidance with better branding. Because silence creates space, and space gives your brain room to speak. That sounds beautiful, but it can also feel threatening, because the brain does not only speak in wisdom, it speaks in half-finished worries, old embarrassment, random fears, unclear emotions, things you have not named yet. So when silence arrives, your mind does not always become peaceful. Sometimes it becomes crowded. This is why sitting alone can feel harder than being busy. Busy gives you a role. Busy says, answer this, go there, fix that, reply now, keep moving. Silence removes the role. Now you are not a worker, not a student, not a customer, not a performer, not a version of yourself for other people. Just a person, breathing, thinking, existing, and that can feel strangely exposed. But here is the turn. Silence is not the enemy. Silence is the mirror. And the reason it feels uncomfortable is not always because something is wrong. Sometimes it is because something is finally visible. The worry was already there. The sadness was already there. The unfinished thought was already there. The question was already there. The noise did not remove it. It only delayed the meeting. This is why the goal is not to force yourself into silence and pretend to be calm. Your brain does not work like that. If silence feels uncomfortable, start smaller. 10 seconds without reaching, then 20, then 1 minute. Not to become some perfect, peaceful person, but to teach your brain that quiet is not always danger. Quiet can be safe. Quiet can be boring. Quiet can be ordinary. Quiet can be where a thought arrives, and you do not have to chase it. You can notice it. Name it. Let it pass through the room without giving it the keys. Because a thought appearing is not an emergency. A feeling rising is not a command. A quiet moment is not a threat. It is just space. And the modern world has trained you to be suspicious of space. It sells you noise, and it sells you speed. It sells you distraction. It sells you something to fill every gap before you feel what the gap contains. But your brain still needs gaps. It needs empty moments to sort memory, to understand emotion, to notice what matters, to stop reacting and start listening. So maybe your brain does not hate silence. Maybe it is just not used to being heard. And maybe the reason silence feels so loud is because it has been waiting behind the noise for a very long time. So tonight, when the room goes quiet and your hand reaches for the phone, pause. Just for a moment. Not forever. Just long enough to ask, what am I trying not to hear? Because silence is not empty. Silence is where your brain finally stops performing and starts telling the truth.